Well, we don't really know a girl until you get up under the skirt here, so. Well, if loving cheap Chinese electronics is wrong, I don't want to be right. So a lot of you probably have seen these on Amazon or Newegg or a million other websites, eBay. This is the Lotos plasma cutter. This is the one with the pilot arc, and for 289 bucks, I finally broke down and said, you know what, I'm tired of dodging bullets from 4-inch cutoff wheels. That if you ever want to see something scary, Google 4-inch cutoff wheel grinder accidents. Ugh. Ugh, gross stuff. But at any rate, for 289 bucks versus $1,000 if I were to get the one that matches my Lincoln, I figured I'd give this thing a shot, and we'll see if it's any good. I'll give you a very unbiased review here. Out of the box, so far so good. Typical crap powder coating on the unit itself, but heavy gauge metal, so you know, it is what it is. Cabling, butyl rubber hose, nice form, nice fit and finish. Over molding on the torch. Ground cables have gotten a lot of flack online. That's the same one you would get at like a Harbor Freight replacement. It's nothing special, but I don't see why it's why everybody's whining about it. It looks fine to me. And I'll tell you what we'll do. We're actually going to get into her and see what we got on the inside of this thing. Yet another piece of electronics that I can't believe you can buy for 289 bucks. So we'll see what corners have been cut on the inside, if any. You might be surprised. It comes with a regulator setup. The reason you're hearing the air there is I'm using a real old quick disconnect fitting I had kicking around, and it's worn. She's got the action quite a few times over the years, so it's got a little leak. I'll end up replacing that. And the first real project is going to be putting it into my Harbor Freight. This is the cheap Harbor Freight welder cart. And I'm going to put my plasma cutter in with the welder cart. We're going to take out this middle shelf and move it down. We're going to angle it to match the top shelf so the plasma cutter has a place to live. And then we're going to use the plasma cutter and cut out a section in the back here for the air regulator to come through. But before we do any of that, let's, a couple of burn marks on the floor. I may have already tried this once, but I'm going to show you what it can do on some sheet metal here. And once that part is done, I say we tear her open. Let's look inside. And then maybe I'll finish it up with the time-lapse quick project video on making this girl a home in there. So there we go. Let's get into it. Boys, well, we don't really know a girl until you get up under the skirt here, so let's see what she's hiding. Take a look at that! Holy moly! Oh boy, I see some good and I see some bad. But I see a lot more good than bad. I'm gonna have to bring you guys in for a closer look here. Alright, so right off the hopper here, there's not a name brand chip in the bunch, not a single one. But that's not always a horrible thing. The only real thing I'm concerned about out of the entire structure here is that there isn't any structure. What they're asking the boards to support is definitely not what you would typically want a PC board to hold. There's really very little. I don't know if you can see there's some deflection in that center board. just from the sheer weight of the heatsink. Actually, no, they got a brace right there. Okay, so they got one brace coming down, so really it's just an adjustment on that brace. Let's see if I can get you in there to see it. You can see that. That's a piece of nylon reinforced plastic that's holding, latched onto the back side of the heatsink. Front side of the heatsink, well, technically the back of the panel is securely fastened there, but there's some deflection in that board, which is not great. But even with that said, you're still leaving a whole lot of weight, like these toroidals. There's a lot of weight there, really unsupported. So I guess what that means, you definitely don't want to be dragging this thing around and banging it around. It is not going to hold up. You're going to have some cold solder joints popping left and right. So as long as it's well protected, it's probably going to be fine. I mean, everything else, the board work itself, the soldering, take a look there. I mean, everything looks pretty good. Actually, it looks really good. There's a couple little spots there. I don't know if you can see that. One little resistor with a little blob on it. But overall, coming out of China, not bad. Wiring's well managed, zip tied where it needs to be. And nothing too bad in here. There's some monster capacitors in the back. Wow, some real monsters in the back. But as you see, you know, from a safety standpoint, everything is well secured. I don't see anything too scary there. Again, the only concern, I guess, at this point would be don't bash this thing around, and it'll last you a long time. So all the more reason why I need to get this thing onto my my little rack there to wheel it around rather than risk having it bounce around up and down. All right, cool. Well, let's get it back together and start working on making it a permanent home on my welding cart. Okay, I'll give you a minute to soak it all in here. So what I ended up doing is I cut the hole, obviously, for the back of the plasma torch to come through. I added a couple of braces here to support what ends up being my fire extinguisher little holder here. And that just rests right on the bracket and clicks right in. I cut apart a chain, took a couple of hooks. Using my new plasma torch, I was able to cut the links out and make a couple of hooks for some tools here. And yeah, obviously the shelf's been readjusted to match the top and just enough height there. So the paintwork, this beautiful paintwork, what I ended up doing is I sprayed the red over the blue, and I had some oil that was on there, so I started getting fish eyes. So here's one of my tips for you. If it's on something like this where it really doesn't make that much of a difference and you've got fish eyes, go with a speckled paint. So I went back over this with some black, and this is the textured black paint that kind of gives you a little bit of a texture with it. And it just ended up going with a speckled paint job rather than try to strip the whole thing down, clean it again, and repaint it, which is just, I'm sure you've all been in that situation where you start painting something and after 5 minutes the thing just starts fish-eyeing and you go, ah, crap. Well, don't worry about it, just speckled it. It kind of looks pretty cool, looks kind of industrial almost. And yeah, I don't have to worry about stripping the paint off and trying to get a real shiny, glossy paint job on something like this where it really doesn't matter. And actually, I kind of like the look of it. So there's that. Let's get this thing loaded up with equipment and see how everything works. It fits like a glove. I challenge you to find a better little package than this for short money. So without spending a cent on anything for the racking, we were able to make this work really well. So you see you got my welder up top, where it always was. Got the LTP5000D plasma cutter on the middle shelf, and I still had enough room for my helmet and my gloves. You've got hooks on both sides here. One now is for the welder, the other one's for the plasma. What else? Oh, in the back here, it's all metal obviously, so I can stick my welding tools right to it. Hanger for the thicker cutters, another hanger on the other side for my tin snips. Still got a nice little storage spot down there for extra welding wire and new glass for the welding mask. And of course the fire extinguisher in the back for quick and easy access when I'm doing something stupid. So there you have it, folks. Overall, I'm very happy with the setup now, and all in a little amount of floor space, I have the two most important metalworking tools one could ever ask for. So if you like this type of content, as always, please hit like and subscribe. I would very much appreciate it. And if you have any questions, concerns, comments, or criticisms, leave them in the bottom there below me. Please also check out any of these other videos that will be populating around my finger. As always, have a great day, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.